Welcome all to this Aspira Roundtable event. This is part of the Aspira Roundtable Leadership Series, where we focus on one topic with a limited group of industry leaders, yourselves, with the aim to share, identify best practices that can help address real issues or opportunities in your organizations today. In the past, we have covered a host of challenging and exciting topics such as digital transformation with Vattenfall and AIG, Leia, enterprise PPM with Philips and AkzoNobel. That's just to name but two. Today, we have a similarly exciting lineup of content and speakers. More on that shortly, though. Today's event is entitled, Did Einstein Invent Agile? If so, what is the formula for success? As we all know, Agile is fueling today's most successful companies by providing client focus and urgency in product development and digital transformations. So finding the formula for success has never been more critical. For now, let me introduce you all, but due to the tight timing of today's event, I will share with you who is attending, and I expect you will then later on be able to introduce yourself during the interactive roundtable segment. Okay, so who do we have with us today? Aspira are proud to welcome 13 organizations originating from 7 different countries globally: Netherlands, Ireland, the UAE, UK, the US, France, and Sweden, represented by 17 attendees. We have from AkzoNobel, Nina and Susan, from Booking.com, Drake, from CRH, Chema, from Digital 14, Badr, from Ervia, Stephen, from Fexco, Finn, from K3, Shemaine. And these two, Shemaine and Finn, are our keynote speakers today also. And from NCRI, Damien, from Philips, Owen, from Stryker, Andrew, from Suez, Laura, and from Vattenfall, we have Olivier, Paul, and Sandra, and Veolia, Blandine, and Rens. Welcome all, what a great group of leaders. And now to your hosts for today, Aspira. I'm Peter Ryan, Managing Director of Aspira in Europe. I'm located today in The Hague. We also have an Amsterdam office. I'm your MC. Our keynote speaker from Aspira is Damien Kearns, Head of Advisory Consulting, and he's located in our global HQ in Cork in Ireland. And Thomas McGrath is our Head of Project Resourcing based in our Dublin office, and he will be our QA facilitator for today. And now a few words about your host, about the company that is hosting you today, Aspira. With our primary offices located in the Netherlands and Ireland, Aspira is located across Europe, Middle East, and Asia, serving 231 clients in 26 countries. Aspira is a fast-growing and award-winning project consulting and technology company, founded in 2007 on real-world experience focused on custom-fit solutions. Therein, as a true end-to-end consultancy, we have 6 service offerings from project resourcing and training through to BI and bespoke software services. And of course, featured today, our advisory expertise. In short, we have the proven people and expertise to lead delivery of your projects today and help you build your capability to deliver them successfully long into the future. Working across both public and private sectors, from utilities and pharma to finance and retail, our key focus is not only to bring our expertise to you and your specific industry, but as shown today, to enable sharing of best practices across industry sectors. Our two client keynote speakers today are from the finance sector, Fexco, and from the retail sector, K3, but more on them later. For now, let me address the housekeeping and agenda items. Housekeeping. The presentation today will be available in abbreviated PDF form post this event. The keynote addresses are being recorded, so we're being recorded right now, right up to the Q&A section. But that roundtable discussion section is not being recorded. We will put all participants on mute during the presentation, but will unmute for facilitation discussion during the Q&A and roundtable sections. There are 2 different sections coming up. You'll see it in the agenda. Questions can be provided then by using the raise hand. We'd also encourage you to keep your cameras on where possible, especially during the questions and roundtable part. We will have a rolling conversation via the chat box, and Tom will be administering that. We will ask you to complete a quick survey after this session, and Tom is posting that to the chat right now. And finally, as time is tight, we may offer, for those of you who wish to stay on beyond the 75 minutes, to avail of some optional extra time with the panel and speakers today. Perhaps we'll add an extra bonus question, who knows. Now to the agenda for today's session. Following this welcome address, I'll be handing over to Damien Kearns to provide our Aspira opening address and his take on the Agile formula for success. We then move to the industry keynotes from K3 by Shemaine, Director of Global Service Delivery at K3, and from Fexco, Mclaughlin, Chief Operating Officer. Then we come to the interactive element of today, the roundtable. More on that in about 30 minutes, but suffice to say, keep your mobile phones to the ready, as it won't just be all talk. At the end, I will call upon Damien to help reflect on the session that we had today and bring us to a close. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over now to Damien. Thank you.
You're on mute, Damien.
Fantastic, that's a good start. My name is Damien Kearns, and I'm the Head of Advisory in Aspira. I've been in Aspira for approximately 9 years now, multiple roles across multiple different sectors. I think I've worked with a few people that are on this call. Peter, if you can click there, please. So the genesis for this idea was, as a senior team, we were discussing really what did we feel was the formula potentially for Agile success. And to give a little bit of kudos to our CEO, Pat Lucy, he felt that Mr. Albert Einstein was way ahead of the pack in relation to this. And the quote, learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning, really resonated with us. It resonated because we felt to be agile, you have to be consistently driven to learn. You have to look to improve. You have to question and have the ability to adapt to new opportunities, which really relates to this particular quote. So we took some artistic license, and Peter, if you can click again, please. And in relation to probably his most famous formula in relation to special relativity, and we tailored it, as you do. And we came up with the concept that E is now excellence, M is mastery, and then what we're going to do is we're going to square the C's, which is customer and culture. And to make this kind of tie together for this conversation today, mastery, which I will discuss, is about process and technology. Customer is going to be discussed by Shemaine, and the cultural piece we're going to talk to in relation to Finn's conversation on his journey in relation to culture. So next slide, please, Peter. So in the pre-survey, which we thank you for completing, we sent out to you, one of the key questions we asked was, what does Agile mean to you? And what we felt Agile actually meant was that some of your answers that came back, the top answer that came back was that you felt that it was an optimal way to deliver innovation. And why do we innovate? We innovate to meet customer demand and to give value. The second highest answer that came back was in relation to culture, which Finn will discuss, and which was a cornerstone of our formula and of any Agile success. And the third answer that came back was that you felt it was a self-controlled project management structure, which is mastery of the process. And whatever Agile framework that you choose, the key element is self-organizing teams and self-controlled project management. Next slide, please, Peter. So in relation to the process piece, we decided that what's really important is a framework. And if you were to look at the moment, there's 40 plus frameworks out there that are available. And that's a lot. And what we felt was important for you guys is to base any Agile roadmap on a framework. And Peter, if you can just click there now, please. So what we found was, and we referred to a really good report, which was the State of Agile report. It's really good. The 14th version annual report was that the majority of frameworks that people are working towards is Scrum in any particular variants. Now, even within the framework selection piece, there's always going to be some experimentation to get one that suits you. And also along the way, there's going to be some tinkering and tailoring to make that framework work for you. The next part of what we felt was mastery was in relation to technology. And the technology and the tools and the structure to actually enable the Agile journey is really, really important. And I suppose one of the first elements we felt was crucial was the whole concept of automation and test automation. And this is in relation to development. And that what we need to be really looking at is that Agile is all about incremental development. It's about frequent changes, but it's continuous testing. It's continuous testing all the way through. And that we need to be able to get quick visibility on really strong code quality. And these are some of the tools that are in high profile at the moment. The next part of what we felt was really important in the technology piece was the concept of source control and versioning. And what we need is we need one master copy of the code. We need the trunk version, and from there then we can branch and we can move and fork and we can develop new versions of the code. But it's essential that we have the latest version sitting there with us. Now, all of this is nothing if we don't actually involve continuous integration. And continuous integration is basically, merging code, having one common repository from our source, and actually getting into product development and delivering it. And continuous integration can also be, again, done with continuous development and continuous integration. And these are the tools that are there. And then finally, in relation to the tool section, what we felt was really important is the concept of being self-organized and teamwork and having tools that we're able to see what our progress is, what our status list is, what collaboration is happening. And when you're looking at these tools, some of the capabilities that would be useful for you is good backlog management, being able to project plan and track along the way, road mapping, seeing where your product is going to go, release planning is essential, and good collaboration features all the way. So next slide there, please, Peter. So stepping away from the mastery piece, and again, our formula, which is basically mastery, process, and technology, we wanted to talk about where you're heading towards. So like, what is an agile business? Why, what are the capabilities that we're looking for? And we felt an agile business is one with a strategy, a roadmap for where it is now and where it wants to be on the agile journey. We felt that an agile business is one that can make decisions quickly and timely. We felt that an agile business is one that embraces and utilizes current technologies. We felt that an agile business is one which has predefined roles within the organization which relate to the framework that they've chosen. And we felt that its learning is driven within the organization, learn more, change. It's really good to be learning new concepts and approaches. Change is in its DNA. So change is not a bad thing, change is a good thing. And then also there's the structure, and that structure is adhered to, and the structure is the framework that they work off, and that adaptability is really, really important. And we can adapt quickly to the various different demands. And then again, you might be in a situation where your organization feels that they're delivering well enough, but why would you drive towards being agile? And the reasons would be this. So in relation to requirements are constantly changing in relation to what you're delivering and how to manage them and deal with them, that you need to respond quicker to market changes and customer demands. That productivity is really important. And through proper learning and allocation within agile teams, you can actually get increased productivity. Loyalty, right? And brand loyalty isn't possibly as strong as before. And what people are looking for, the customer is looking for a better product, and you have to get it to them quicker. And improvements on that. And then the technology, as we know, is constantly changing, and we have to evolve with it. And then in reality, what we're trying to be as a business is lean. We're trying to maximize value that we give to the customer, and at the same time, utilize our resources better. So that's the positive stuff about our journey into Agile and the reasons we do it. But there's going to be challenges, and some of the challenges it's important to call out, and our speakers, Shemaine and Phil, relate to their own personal experiences. But generalistically, some of the challenges and road bumps that you'll find along the way is that the lack of wider buy-in into Agile. And I suppose it can't be just the people on the coalface, the development team who are leading this. It has to be a full stakeholder engagement, and that's at the top level as well, management down. And without it, it won't succeed. And then you might have resistance to change, because a lot of people would be not interested in changing, and they're saying, well, what we're doing at the moment is currently very good, why would we change? And that also the resistance to change might come about from traditional ways of being directly managing work, and that Agile is more about a democratic view and approach. What's really important, if you can do it here, is to engage those particular people, to understand their roles, to be part of the roles, to buy into the whole concept of what you're doing. The next piece would be in relation to lack of open communication, and transparency is vital to effective Agile delivery. And what we need to kind of emphasize to teams is that it's about team unity. It's not about individuals, and calling out issues that are wrong is not a bad thing. And that if we don't share that information, the team is going to suffer. And then I suppose one other major piece would be the concept of being too risk averse, and that the idea of the test and learn approach to development is actually a positive, and that not everything that we work on is going to end up in production. That if we spend small, concentrated amounts of budget on deploying and prototyping, that the lessons learned from there are going to pay us back in the long term, because we might not then assign budget to product that mightn't be necessary. So that's me, Peter.
Thank you very much, Damien. Greatly appreciated. And now we're going to hand over to your next speaker, and that will be Shemaine. So Shemaine, if you want to take control of the screen, and you can.
Yeah, sure. Give me a minute. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Full screen. So thanks for inviting me. Very nice to be here today. I attended one of the roundtables last year and I enjoyed it very much. So I guess part of it is also sharing my own experiences and our own experiences and what we can learn from each other. So thanks for inviting me here today. And I'm going to try and give you in about 8 minutes or so a whistle-stop tour of our Agile journey, or my Agile journey, if you like, within K3. I think the challenge will be trying to stay within that time frame, because there's lots of information that I'd love to share with all of you. So I'll do my best. Just a little bit about me. I'm originally from a small island called the Isle of Man. I moved to the Netherlands in 2008. And I've been involved for most of my career in IT, implementing digital solutions in many different kinds of organizations. Currently, I'm with K3 and we implement ERP systems in the retail industry. K3 is a bigger group. I'm responsible for all of consultancy, development, project management, support globally. We have offices here in the Netherlands, Singapore, just set up an office in KL a year or two ago, Malaysia and Kuala Lumpur, that is. And along with having to deliver products to our customers, we also have our own transition, and I'm responsible for leading my team of around 150 people in our own Agile journey, if you like, and building competences there and just really enabling growth in our own organisation. So very briefly, and who are we? So I just had this one pager. IKEA is my account, right? So IKEA is our customer that I'm responsible for implementing all of these ERP systems. We have many projects ongoing globally. So this was just to give you a flavour of those. A lot of them are indeed to do with their ERP system, and we support them in new store openings, but also enhancements and some CRM, many Microsoft technologies with their own flavour built on top, of course. So what's it been like for us? Well, I tried to plot it in a timeline to give you an idea. We started back in 2016, probably a little bit earlier than that, when I joined K3 in September 2016. And there was a small team working in isolation saying, well, we want to work in a more agile way with IKEA, with our key customer. How can we do this? And they picked a piece of product functionality, actually, to start with. And started to work together with our customer to see how we could improve quality. We had lots of quality issues, but also improve collaboration and improve speed to market. So that turned out to be quite successful. So we started internally in 2017 saying, kind of introducing this more agile mindset. We had our own culture program where we talked about DNA. Can we try and embed some of this in our DNA? What is that? You know, what or why, how, and what? Some of you are familiar with Simon Sinek. You know, I feel that's important to organisations to understand why we're doing what we're doing. And on the bottom there, I've just put give you an idea of how many teams we started with and where we are today. We've had the luxurious position on one hand that the demand continues to grow from our customers, and with that the team size as well, where we saw major growth in the years 2018 to 19, where we extended to Asia, opened the office in Kuala Lumpur. We started to get lots of lessons learned from our customers around how they work and how they work with us in a more agile way, the things they like about it, the things they don't like about it. And as we started to work and spread this way of working to more of our customers within IKEA, we started to get more feedback, and we started to scale as well. And we picked a particular model to scale with that's less. That suited our organisation, and we started to look at what we could use from that and introduce new roles like product owners, scrum masters to the organisation, and we talked about, well, how can we be efficient? So co-located versus distributed teams. We also work with partners in the Ukraine and Lithuania and all other kinds of countries. So how could we be as efficient as possible, and how could we align those teams to our customers as well? 2020, I think we all have been impacted by the pandemic. We had to adjust to this new reality. Changing customer demand as well meant that we had to also do a lot of shuffling and our own planning and our own portfolio. But we focused very much internally on how we could improve the technology that we use, so continuous delivery, continuous integration that you just heard about earlier. And we continue with this feedback, and I'll get to some of the feedback in a little bit, but we continued this year to with the feedback and to put some measures in place and actions in place to actually start to adjust even further and tweak how we, how we work to align our business, which is very different maybe from your businesses, to our customers, and really look at how do we apply it to the specific type of projects that we deliver. So that gives you an idea of the journey from a few years ago to where we are today. And we have now around 14 Scrum teams, and around that we have what we call supporting roles. So all the teams aren't able to do everything. We've accepted that as well. So we have certain architectural design at a high level outside the team, but also release management, QA, security, some specific roles there that can support teams when needed. Typical questions that we got, I just listed a couple of them here, but a lot of it is, well, value for money is so important. So I had project managers working on my projects, and now I've got product owners and scrum masters. Isn't this more expensive? And also, how do you ensure quality? So many new people who aren't familiar with business processes and with our customers, isn't this going to slow us down? And when we get to requirements, well, we used to have this, functional requirements document with 100 pages, and now we don't have that anymore. What are we going to do? How are we going to use that how are we going to make sure that you've got a clear understanding of what we need? And why do I need to work in this way when it was clear to me before in Waterfall, where I had a timeline, a scope, a budget, that was far clearer to me. And then when we get to the nitty-gritty around, how do you do planning? How do you estimate? So we work with effort points, for example, where the teams estimate how much time they need, essentially, or what the effort is. But we also have to translate that for our customers into hours, and hours also equals money. So how do we go about doing that? So these are all kind of different challenges that we saw, and that, based on feedback that we had from our customers. And unfortunately, I can't go into all of these in detail in the time that I had, but some key learnings just to share with you briefly. We've realised, we've questioned ourselves, is this the right way to go? And we've said, yeah, it is. Agile is here to stay, but I think we can we can improve on how we apply it. Tailor it to our organisation as well. So I talked about the LESS framework and some of the technology that we use to support that. We don't always need to follow the process to the letter. So what's best for our organisation based on the learnings we've received. And then lastly, starting with the team, and make sure that we've got the right level of competence there. And just to go into those into a little bit more detail, we've really seen the benefits that this way of working brings to our customers. They're involved in the process from the start, and we have 2-week sprints. They review what's done at the end of the sprint, and it's clear what everyone can expect and when. And we've really seen, from a development perspective, lots of improvements in quality, in predictability, in productivity, all the P's. But we know we're not there yet, so we need to continue to optimise how we work. And also, as I said earlier, how do we apply this to particular types of projects? Some projects we use Scrum, so some projects are more aligned to that way of working than others. So tailoring, we also do that. So we take the frameworks and we see what suits best for our organisation, learning on what works well and what does not. And not being afraid to drop the part that what does not. So trying to be brave in that sense as well, to take steps where others haven't been able to do that. And it's all about our operating model and the organisational design to support this way of working. So the new roles you need, the line management, that, you know, what do you need to make this work? And again, a key lesson learned is really starting with the team, make sure they're all clear on how we're going to work, because if they aren't, then our customers also won't be. So get their buy-in, really strive to be that boundary-less organisation. I mean, a lot of us work in a matrix organisation, and it's, you know, you're not really responsible for the resources, but, you know, in how we work and what the quality that we deliver to our customers, we should always strive and not let that be seen on the outside. We should be this boundary-less organisation who's there to drive delivering products to our customers. Collaboration is key, so we've got tools to support us in that, but it's also embedded in our culture, and that's part of this environment which we've set up to actually help our teams work remotely. We were already working remotely, so when the pandemic hit, it wasn't such a big change for us, but how can we be more effective in that? And then final thought, we're talking about formula for success today, and I'll come back to one of my favourite speakers, that's Simon Sinek. Happy employees ensure happy customers, and happy customers ensure happy shareholders, in that order. So I think start with the team, start with the people in your own internal organisation, and I'm sure the customers will be happy as a result of that. And that's my last slide.
Thank you very much, Damien. That was fascinating. A formula within the formula. Excellent. So on to our third keynote. And that's Finn. And if you want to take control of the screen, you can feel free to share.
Thank you. If I can find something to share, be great. There we go. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Good morning and good afternoon, all. Welcome from a rather wet and windy and miserable west coast of Ireland, but that's what you get for living in where we do. My name is Finn Mclaughlin. I am the CEO of part of the Fexco organization. I'll go through that in a minute. I guess just for who I am and what I've done, I've over 30 years experience. I probably am the oldest person, well, second oldest after Damien, on the call today. I've spent my time in development as a system administrator, database administrator, as well as being a project manager. So I've got a whole gamut of experiences. I spent nearly 20 years in the States and the rest of the time in Ireland. I'm currently, as I said, the CEO for a division within Fexco called Drive. I'll go through that in a minute. One thing though is in a previous life, I was actually a researcher. And one of the things I did was, rather than use the CMM model straight, I reversed it a bit and I drove business objectives from CMMI. And the reason I bring that up is I think it's important. It was a big learning for me to know that you actually take all these frameworks and you can mess with them and tinker with them and make them suit you. So one of the learnings we'll see in a minute is, I believe that you take a base model and you can tinker it then for you and your organization as best suits you. Fexco, who are we? We're a fintech in Ireland, probably the largest native fintech. We are leaders in payments, foreign exchange, and dynamic currency conversion. When you go abroad and you get a choice of paying either in your local currency or the currency that or your base currency, that's probably us. So we come from an area where we have to be agile, we have to be entrepreneurial, and we've got to move quickly. Specifically, I'm part of the division that builds all these products and then pushes them out to business units to manage. So that's who we are. Now, just a brief discussion on what I think agility is. It may or may not be the case, but this is my definition anyway, right? The dictionary definition is the ability to move quickly and easily. What I believe agility is not about is being able to respond quickly using ad hoc processes. You need to build processes which are resilient and which can meet your needs. But it's not that you're going to dump a million people on one project to make sure it goes well. That's not agility. That's basically an out of control process. So what I'm going to be talking today is really about how to build processes and the issues we've had that allow us to provide resilience and agility. So where did our initial transformation come from? When I came to this company about 3 years ago, we were using a form of Scrum. At the time, in addition, we had a whole bunch of hardware which needed to get refreshed, and which was going to be an expensive proposition. So we decided, sorry, here we are, to move to the cloud. And we chose Google Cloud Platform. So now we had Scrum, we had the cloud, and we had to figure out how to put it all together. So that's where we came from. The first thing I did when I came in was I actually undertook a whole mapping, value stream mapping process. We took all our senior managers into a room. We plastered the walls full of yellow stickies, as you'll probably have seen, and we came up with what we thought was our current process, right? Then we had an epiphany and said, geez, you know what? The senior managers aren't the guys on the ground. So we then brought in the people who actually did the work. And lo and behold, there was a big dichotomy. As a senior manager, what I think happens really isn't what actually happens on the ground. And that was one of the learnings we really had, is you need to bring everybody in to figure out what is really happening on the ground. Not only that, but then as you move from your current position to your leaned out position, you need buy-in from everybody. And I mean absolutely everybody. It's not just the developers, the QAs, the SAs, it's the users, it's the product owners, it's the senior management. Everyone needs to buy in. Only with that buy-in will things seep into the culture. I think it was Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I'm a firm believer that this culture really has to be built and worked on a daily basis, right? In addition to building our culture, we had to change our whole development process, and we undertook training for everyone that needed it. The remaining item then was proof of concept. And we thought, geez, this is going to be great. And lo and behold, it was late and the quality wasn't that good, right? Couple of things we discovered from that. One was, and I've seen both sides of it, having been on the development side and the operational side, developers are quite happy to type away and do all their stuff and throw it over the wall for the operations people to manage. But if it's a piece of garbage, you're going to have a lot of grief, right? So we created, that did happen to us initially, and we created the role of a pod, who's a product operations and delivery manager. So that person is one person who's responsible for everything soup to nuts, not only the delivery, but the operational management. And it really comes down to what they don't like it, but I call it a single throat to choke. It's to make sure that there's one person responsible for both the delivery and the operational side. One other change we made was we took a look around at various other methods. One of the issues we had was that in a Scrum process, you pick off your individual work items and you work on the prioritized ones, right? But that doesn't really give you a big focus on a business solution. So we took the concept of a program increment from the SAFe framework. And what we do now is we actually have about anywhere between 4 and 6 sprints of 2 weeks each. In those, at the start of each of those PIs, we decide what are our business objectives, not what's the priority, but what are our business objectives for the next 8 to 12 weeks. We do two days of planning, and we leave 1 or 2 sprints at the end for either slippage, and there's going to be slippage, and we also leave time then to plan out the next for the next PI. That works really, really well for us. So I guess where are we now? Right now, I believe we're probably somewhere around a level 3. Where do we want to be? Probably a level 4. I don't believe we want to be a level 5. Back in the old days when I had hair, I actually used to work with the Software Engineering Institute. And one of the things that we looked at was the ROI of moving along the various levels. At the time, there were very, very few level 5 organizations, one of which was NASA. And the reason they spent all that money was to make sure that when astronauts were sent up, they came down safely, right? There's actually quite a large ROI, or sorry, lack of ROI or big curve in investment to go from a 4 to a 5. So I don't think we'll actually be at a 5, nor do I think we want to be at a 5. In summary, lessons learned, right? And this first red comment is about me, not anybody else, right? You're going to get a consistent groupthink from a bunch of middle-aged, middle-class, bald, hypertensive males like me, right? You need to have people from different backgrounds, different demographics, all working on whatever your process is to make sure that it really reflects what you need it to reflect. And I'm a firm believer that me, as with my background, I'm blinkered on what I see. You need to bring people in, whether they're from different demographics, whether they're from different job families or whatever, right? In the end, I guess if all you have is a hammer, everything's a nail. Second thing that we got from this is, as I said earlier, you can tinker with the process. These processes came about because they were good practice and other people brought them together and published them, right? There's nothing to say that you can't borrow or steal from anybody else and move and make it useful. We certainly did with the Safe and Agile PIs. It really saved our whole initiative. Now, one last final thing, and as I said, I'm an old guy, right? So I tried to come up with some code to figure out how to measure success, right? And it comes down to this. If the number of pigeon days are greater than the number of statue days, you have a success. And what does that mean? It really means the next thing, right? Some days, guys, you're going to be the pigeon. Some days you're going to be the statue. And hopefully your pigeon days are greater than your statue days. And I think that's all for me. Thank you very much.